Wow, there's a lot of people, Jack exclaimed, as they came up to the massive crowd that was forming at the entrance to Clan Barzum's territory. I thought you said they were being selective with their guests. They are, Allura smiled. Other factions in the city are being represented, and I can only imagine the screening they're getting. That's a sizable troop of Red Legion over there. I think the local general commander might be here. That would make sense. Many of the aspirants helped in the defense during the attack, and Luvia has one of the highest places of honor alongside Jack, Svartal, Svarti, and Sigrin, Chia reasoned. Technically, Devil's Daughter has a place of high honor too, but she is not expected to show up. Clan Barzum does apparently have plans to reward her for her efforts, though, so maybe they'll keep it in escrow. It was the early afternoon, and the group had taken it easy on finally getting back from their successful heist. They hadn't said much during the rest of their trip back, with most of the group still feeling nauseous after their rapid ascent. Scifi had sent their newly bestowed cargo drone on a roundabout route to shake any surveillance before setting it on an autopilot course for home, setting the drone to land safely on the grass. They hadn't properly gone through their loot yet, though they did have enough sense to restock their fridge with the perishable food and throw a tarp over their new fabricator until they could find a home for it, which was probably going to be one of the garage-like rooms at the end of the main building, which was easily accessible from the inside and outside, and would serve well as a general workshop area. After that, they heated up the microwave pizza and ate a slice each before deciding they weren't really that hungry, and instead went to bed, but not before giving Dante some pets, the dog having stayed up waiting for them to return. They were more than happy to finish off the pizza when they woke up, however, and took it easy before they left in good time to walk to the ceremony in the early afternoon. Jack could tell that the plaza they were approaching was usually a bustling hub of travel and activity, but for now it had been transformed into a vast sea of mourners, as citizens and leaders alike paid their respects to those who had fallen, surrounded by various paparazzi looking for a winning shot. It also wasn't just the Red Legion being represented, as a few other delegations were making their presence known with distinctive banners and insignias. The undead crypts, with their blue spray-painted symbols and rough-and-tumble attire to honor their members that had fallen to the clowns, stood in contrast to various corporate figures and their bodyguards. Looking ahead, Jack was dismayed to see what he remembered as House Malkar's symbol proudly displayed, with several drow troops haughtily shoving a path through the crowd. To the left, Jack could also see several robed Stygians waiting patiently at the side of the road. Hover drones flitted about them, capturing the scene from every angle, their dissonant buzzes and whirs almost drawing out the somber, ambient music coming from Clan Barzum's complex. "Quite a display," Jack heard a familiar voice from the side, and they quickly turned around to see who had crept up on him. "Hello, Mr. Ashtail." Jack spun to greet the lister, the rest of his group quickly turning to acknowledge him, before turning back to their conversations. "Hey, Critch."
"Oh, come now, Jack. No need to be so formal with me."
Vetch Ashtail patted Jack on the back with a warm, grandfatherly smile.
"It's good to see you again."
"Even better to see the security here," Critch joked, to a playful look of disapproval from his grandfather. Clan Barzum security was omnipresent. High-tech defense systems, both overt and covert, kept a vigilant eye over the busy crowd. Automated turrets, cloaked in stealth mode, lay ready to act at the slightest hint of violent disruption. Hoduf mech troopers, their outfits a blend of tactical armor and cyber enhancements, patrolled every entrance and key point, communicating silently through neural links, ensuring a seamless security net over the entire event.
"Gentle beings, may I have your attention, please?"
A voice that Jack recognized as Ivar Barzum called out over a loudspeaker.
"All invited guests of honor, and their approved escorts taking active part in the ceremony, please make your way to the western gate. All other invited faction dignitaries to the east gate, and everyone else, including reporters, please remain here at the central gate. Thank you."
"I guess we're at the western gate," Jack shrugged.
"Us too," Vetch confirmed. "Critch has a place of honor too for actively saving lives."
"Awesome. Jack smiled politely, as he and the others slowly made their way to the western gate, though in the back of his mind he was paranoid something bad would happen. Let's get this over with. Escorted through the caverns by the Clan Barzum guards, who were more than happy to see them, the grand hall they had all been led to was an architectural masterpiece of massive golden chandeliers dangling from the ceiling, illuminating the room in a warm, soft glow. Tall columns, intricately carved from fine stone, stood like sentinels, guarding the long history of the building. The hall's floor was a vast expanse of polished obsidian, reflecting the lights above in a shimmering dance.
We've got some time, but all the guests that will be receiving honours have seats on the stage at the end, the sergeant informed them. Everyone else that was at the party sits at the front, and their escorts can fill up from there.
Thanks, Nika told them as they left. Rather exclusionary that they're only having those that were able to distinguish themselves during the battle on the stage. Chio expressed her displeasure. There are those that still held that should be up there. The stage only seats a specific number of people, Oliver told them. I understand that everyone involved in the attack will be compensated, so perhaps that's why they've been directed at the front, in order for them to still receive honours.
We'll leave you here, Vetch told them,
as a small group of Lister acknowledged the guard that was ferrying them to their seats.
For what it's worth, I'm proud of all of you. Feel free to stop by our territory and have some free drinks and snacks on me after this is all over.
Thanks, Vetch, Scifi grinned. I think they plan to feed us after the ceremony, but I'm always up for double portions when the cost of living sucks.
Excuse me, Jack Frost?
A hood of guard asked him nervously, and he nodded.
Along with other guests of honor, please follow me, and we'll get you assigned your allocated seats once everyone else has entered the hall.
As they walked up to a special alcove along the side of the stage they had been directed to, the hall slowly began to come alive when a huge set of metal hatches groaned open, and various groups of guests were meticulously escorted to their sections. The soft murmurs of the various guests grew louder and more animated as attendees greeted one another, and soon the pitter-patter of feet gave way to a clattering of shoes on the stone floor as the hall quickly began filling up. Reporters that had been approved by Clan Barzum were permitted to set up their strange-looking cameras and microphones in specific spots, as directed by the hood of guards, strategically dotted around the hall in places where they would not be in the way. They engaged in hushed discussions with their crews, adjusting the angles of their cameras and readying themselves to capture every moment of the memorial ceremony. Drone cameras floated above, their quiet hum blending into the background noise, their lenses zeroing in on the various notable attendees, and Jack had to quickly check his gun to make sure it could be brought to bear at a moment's notice. He really didn't want this to go badly, and his paranoia wasn't helped by many guests pointing at him, and several drones hovered around him in an orbit of discomfort as he walked up the stairs onto the stage. However, as many of the guests sat down, and he and the others were separated from one another as they were escorted to their own seats in full view of the crowd, there was still an air of anticipation, and certain guests of honor had yet to arrive. Apparently they wanted to make an entrance which would look good for the cameras. Though for some of the guests that followed, honor was not a word Jack would use.
Representing the Red Legion, General Commander Opathu,
a herald called out, as a particularly beefy-looking reptilian warrior strode into the room, expecting all eyes to be on him. He had a harsh but stoic look to him in his resplendent red armor, but he wasn't the one Jack was focused on.
Carl,
he heard Nika growl from behind him. It was true. Master Carl was flanking the General Commander on one side, with a white-scaled Nira he hadn't seen before on the other, looking very different to the two Nira he already knew. Several elite troops in red armor were close behind for a threatening visage. For his part, Carl was staring straight ahead with a humid expression.
"Hey, Jack!"
Luvia bounded up to them excitedly, looking very beautiful with her polished crimson scales, manicured hair and black dress.
"Hello, everyone. How have you all been?"
"Hey, Luvia!" Scifi grinned mischievously, as she quickly sidled up alongside Jack, blocking the dragon as the Skritter brought her arm around the human, pulling him in tight for a side hug.
"It's nice to see you,"
Hi, Luvia. Jack nervously greeted the dragon, who was unable to get close to him, though not for lack of trying, his voice fighting not to go up an octave as Scifi pressed herself into him. You look nice. Thanks, Jack, Luvia smiled, as Scifi practically squeezed him in jealousy. Looks like you'll be sitting next to me on stage. We must catch up later. Representing House Malkar of the Drow Concordance, the herald bellowed again. Matriarch Isadora Malkar. Presenting an air of nobility and power, the Drow of House Malkar marched forward, not acknowledging the crowd until they reached their seats, where one of the Drow, a female in black spiked plate with a large sword, gave the Red Legion contingent a smile that radiated mockery. Who else are we expecting? Chio asked the gathered on a list. I know Corvin Enterprises wanted to send a representative, but were denied, Luvia shrugged. They were allowed to send reporters, however.
Commander Cocaine also got denied, Chris chuckled. Damn shame. They really humiliated the Drow the other night. That was so funny. I'd love to see them go for round 2. I know a few unknown individuals tried to get in, a new voice called out, as Sigrid Barzum walked up to them. That's why it's taken a while to get through, but everything should be fine now. Ivar thinks it's from those Emerald King lot.
Oh no, Honora gasped. You don't think...
They were turned away at the door, and if they return, we'll open fire, Sigrid nodded. We're not taking any chances. I'm warning you as a courtesy, because I fully expect this to be safe. We pulled out all stops for this. Gloom paths are clear and security level is black. Anyone that shouldn't be here gets killed on sight.
Damn, Jack mumbled.
Anyway, I think most of us are here. The 2 nearest siblings are on their way, and we have a few more honorees yet to arrive. In practice, this won't take too long. We'll be rewarding and compensating you properly behind closed doors. But this is a matter of honor for us. And most of all to remember those that cannot be with us today. Sigrid then smiled as she saw more people arrive. But, fortunately, that number is much smaller than it could have been, thanks to all of you.
Everyone is accounted for now. We're just getting the last group sorted, one of the guards told Sigrid, as a new group of people joined them, including someone Jack really didn't expect to see. What? The human exclaimed, as the others in his group gave similar expressions of shock.
Whoa!
Killer Kush calmly groaned, as he was gently guided by one of the guards to where he was meant to be.
Oh, hey Jack!
He nonchalantly waved at Jack, who was staring at him, flabbergasted. Killer Kush? How are you alive? I saw you die. Again? Jack asked without thinking, as Kush just looked at him like he wasn't quite there. I even closed your eyes and said some words for you. It was very moving, Jack sighed, before putting out his hand in respect. I'm glad you're still around.
Thanks, Jack,
Killer Kush nodded, clasping Jack's arm in his for a handshake, in a rare moment of lucidity.
I kinda remember now. Clan Barzum was able to recover me and bring me back. I have, like, a thingy that can usually help preserve me after something bad, and I have a contract with Corwagon that lets their healers know when I've been downed, but it has limited reach. Fucking sucks I couldn't take down Dr. Grine. They told me he got away. I got some good hits on him at least.
You did what you could, and he's much tougher than he looks, Jack nodded. I know he has a bounty, but I wouldn't even know where to start looking. There's a lot of powerful people on the hunt, though. You could probably get in on that if you wanted.
Maybe, bro. Bounty work ain't paying much right now, so I'm up for anything.
Kush shrugged, looking up at Jack with a desperate gaze.
I haven't even lit a blunt for, like, 2 hours.
Jack began. Why not put your skills into helping the city fix itself? There's people that need help and could give you a kickback. You could work for a higher cause, or...
Higher cause?
Killer Kush's expression got serious for a moment, as he stared at Jack.
Jack, this is very, very important. How high are we talking exactly?
How high? Jack asked.
groaning internally as he realized what the stoned frog meant. That's up to you, I guess.
I'm gonna do a few lines of coke and think about it. Thanks, Jack.
Kush grinned, as a guard gently guided the dress clocks back into place. Last group, the guards called before looking to Sigrin. Nearly ready. Elder Torvald will bring you up when it's time. Good luck.
Thanks. You too.
The provisional elder smiled before noticing who was arriving. Ah, Svartal. Good to see you. And Svarti. I was glad to hear of your recent recovery. Everyone snapped their heads around at that, as Sigrid marched over to greet the two nearer, slinking over to them, warmly greeting the two with open arms. Svartal was clearly feeling as exposed as Jack was, looking around on high alert for any threats, while supporting his frail sister, who was clearly quite tired from the exertion, but who still smiled.
Yes, I'm a bit worse for wear, but I'm strong enough for this,
Svarti nervously told them all, as she leaned on her staff before looking around.
Is Vanya here?
She's among the crowd. Alora smiled warmly at the Nira. There'll be time to meet up afterwards, I'm sure.
Certainly will. There's going to be a reception afterwards away from the media,
Sigrin pointed out, patting Sparty on the shoulder. Suddenly, some music played over the sound system in the hall, causing conversations to begin to die out, as an older Hodov in resplendent armor walked up to them, flanked by several guards.
Greetings, friends. If you would follow me, the ceremony is about to begin.
As the solemn music reached a crescendo, all eyes turned to the raised platform where Elder Torvald stood to address the crowd. Though age had etched harsh, deep lines onto their face, the elder's posture remained taut, and their eyes remained sharp. Their voice was deep and resonant as they spoke.
Greetings, gentle beings. Today, we stand united, not merely in the face of adversity facing our home, but to come together and honor those who gave their lives in order for our city to keep on going. When the clowns came in force, it was not noble titles, riches, or territory that defined us during that vicious attack, but the actions we took to look true evil in the eye and face it.
The hall was now silent as the elder spoke, the music having faded away, not even the clicks of the drones or cameras interrupting the hallowed scene.
As we commemorate this moment, the elder continued, I want to acknowledge those who exemplified courage, those whose bravery illuminated the darkest moments. Our heroes, who you all see behind me and at the front of the hall.
The elder allowed a moment of silence to allow that moment to sink in.
While everyone I have honored have tales of bravery to tell, 6 heroes in particular risked their lives at the greatest peril, 5 of whom you see before me.
He motioned to Jack, Luvia, Sigrin, Svarti, and Svartal.
The 6th, Devil's Daughter, operates under a veil of obfuscation. However, we honor her for her efforts, nonetheless. First, I honor my granddaughter, Sigrin. When my son, Elder Torvin Barzen, fell in the battle to buy our guest time to escape, it was Sigrin that took charge of the defense until help could arrive. She demonstrated leadership and courage during that time, and it is my honor to elevate her to full elder.
Sigrin subtly released a gasp of breath she didn't realize she had been holding at that. A bona fide elder? She didn't know whether to be happy at the honor, or sad at feeling old.
I now honor Luvia Nestix, proud dragon of the Red Legion, who scorched the clowns in their infiltration tunnels, and took to the skies to rain fire on our foes. Svarti, who almost at the cost of her life, cast a mighty barrier to repel the clowns and protect the wounded, before casting a portal to allow them to escape. Devil's Daughter, who struck out at the clowns from the shadows and disrupted their offensive. Svartal, who carved his way through scores of clowns in order to rescue those that were captured, including my granddaughter, Greta, before slaying as many clowns as he could in defense of Outpost Quandor. And Jack Frost. Fighting alone through the tunnels, he was able to rescue many people from the clown horde and reach the security nexus, turning the tide of the battle by manually overriding our disabled active defenses. He then confronted the true mastermind behind the attack, Dr. Reyes Grine, almost slain him, and obtained valuable intelligence we would otherwise not have acquired. For the bravery these 5 heroes have demonstrated, I grant the highest honor I can, with the entire ring as my witness. I name you all Bloodkin of Clan Balsam.
There were several whispers within the crowd at that, and Jack must have visibly looked slightly confused, because Elder Torval subtly raised his hand to put him at ease for now. Jack would need to ask what that was about later. The Elder returned to the center of the platform, looking out at the sea of faces once more.
May we always remember the sacrifices made, and may we move forward with the knowledge that together we can overcome any adversity that may challenge us. Honor those that fell in the face of evil, and carry their spirits with you always. Thank you.
As the applause thundered throughout the hall, there was a palpable sense of unity, at least for a brief moment. In a way, it gave Jack hope that things could get better, and that societies could come together, even if it was bound by mutual hatred of the clowns that attacked their city indiscriminately. As the cameras of drones and reporters clicked, and Jack looked at the various beings below who were applauding them all, one suddenly stood out. An ordinary, average-looking squarry was staring right at him from the crowd. Light brown feathers, conservative clothes, no distinguishing features. Jack didn't know what it was about the person that unnerved him so, but his gut told him it was not good. The being stared at him for several moments in interest, before giving him an unmistakable cruel smile and a slight tilt of his head, acknowledging him, before in the next moment they were gone. It was like Jack had simply lost focus of them for a brief moment, only for them to vanish. Try as he might, he couldn't find them again in the crowd. Was he imagining this? Was he seeing things? Was he being paranoid? Sigrin, Jack whispered to the Hodef next to him. Got a bad feeling about someone in the crowd. Might be nothing, though. A squarry looking a little weird at me in the section over there.
I'll call it in. We're done here, so I'll tell the guards to keep a lookout, the Elder confirmed, not even questioning it. Everyone coming to the reception has been fully screened, and guard presence is high.
Thanks, Jack whispered back, as the crowds began to disperse. How are you feeling? Svartal asked his sister, as they entered a new room with refreshments the guards had guided them all to. Do you need to sit down?
I'm well enough, Sparty weakly hissed back. I promised Vanya I'd meet up with her afterwards and help her with an episode of her podcast.
I should probably try and convince you that resting would be better, but I know that probably won't work, Svartal chuckled. Just don't try and teleport anyone else back with you when you come home. We still have enough wars to destroy anyone that teleports in uninvited. Commander Cocaine's forces learned that the hard way.
Oh, good.
Svarti sighed with relief as she looked around, spotting Nia on her own holding a drink.
I'm going to mingle for a bit and see who else is here.
As you wish. Have fun,
Svartal smiled, before turning back to talk to Soren. As the Nira slithered up to Nia, the Stygian jumped slightly at the movement, before relaxing slightly on seeing who it was.
Svarti, I'm glad you're awake. How are you feeling?
Nia tentatively asked.
I was going to ask you the same question.
Svarti smiled.
I am better, thank you. I've missed out on a lot and I can barely remember what happened. How have you been?
I woke up a few days after the attack. Nia smiled warmly, as she slowly sipped her wine.
My tribe came to collect me after assisting Clan Balsam in the recovery efforts. Under their care I was able to wake up and heal my physical injuries, but my astral strands will take longer to repair. I'm sorry to hear that,
Svarti told the Stygian, sympathetically placing a hand on Nia's shoulder.
I have a similar problem, but my time in a coma actually went a long way to help heal mine. I've found in the past that Spending time meditating at a powerful enough ley line convergence point can help.
Ley lines? Nia asked, perking up at the idea. I wasn't aware of such points around Naganai that aren't claimed or heavily contested.
Yes,
Sparty nodded enthusiastically.
House Malkar is in a very good place, and I have my own meditation chamber that's helped. But before, Svartal and I used to use a spot on the edge of the ghost-like forest to the south of the city.
Really? Nia asked, surprised, and secretly very excited at the idea. Even Grandmaster Ilvela didn't know of many good spots when he originally searched for a location to call home. Forgive me for prying, but...
Of course! I'll give you my new comm code and let you know.
Sparty beamed.
But you are also welcome at the House Malkar compound as my guest. I am allowed to do that, but it might not be...
That's quite all right. I like discovering secrets, Nia smirked, as she felt a familiar presence approach from behind.
Nia, there you are.
Grandmaster Orvella exclaimed with a grandfatherly tone.
Ah, and you must be Sparty. Nia's told me much about you.
She has?
Sparty asked, slightly confused, as Nia respectfully moved to the side, allowing the Grandmaster to speak to the Nira, though nervous and unsure of what he was planning.
Indeed. Ilvela smiled kindly. A fellow practitioner of the arcane arts, and a most capable one, so I've heard. A pleasure to meet you, dear.
He smiled as he shook her hand.
What you did that night was nothing short of outstanding work, even with a powerful artifact like that golden staff of yours. I'll admit I am curious how a young lady your age came to possess such a relic.
Thank you.
Sparty smiled politely.
According to my brother, my staff belonged to our late mother. I don't have any memories of her, but I am honored to wield it in her name and hope to do her proud.
I am sorry to hear of her loss, and that you cannot remember her.
Ilvela bowed his head.
But I am sure she would be proud of the brave young woman her daughter has become.
That is very kind, Sparty smiled. All I know is that she died in the Demon Fire War. My brother has more memories of her than I do. He is my elder by many years, though we are in the same year at school. Nira are a very long-lived species after all, so it makes sense.
Of course. Ilvela nodded respectfully. Ah, don't let me take up any more of your time. I can see your companions over there looking concerned.
Sparty looked around to see Soren and Svartal looking her way, but as she turned to politely bid her farewells to the Stygians, she could see that both of them had already departed. Shrugging, she went to browse the foods Clan Bosom had on offer, and was happy to talk to those that wanted to speak to one of the heroes of the clan attack, who saw her as more approachable, before Spartal eventually reunited with her.
Careful not to let your new fame go to your head,
Svartal teased.
I won't,
Sparty giggled, before looking worried towards the entrance of the room, as the Red Legion contingent entered.
Oh no, you don't think we'll have problems with them, do you?
I wouldn't worry, dear.
Soren purred from behind her, as he gently patted her shoulder and drew close.
This is neutral ground, and Clan Bosom have made it clear what happens to those that break it.
Besides, the Red Legion is no match for our power,
Isadora added, a little too loudly.
Is that so?
A voice from the Red Legion contingent growled, as General Commander Opathu strode over, in a picture of calm rage, followed by his entourage.
Would this be the same mighty House Malkar that faltered against Commander Cocaine?
We sent him running,
Cravel snarled, as the nearer officer to the side of General Opathu subtly moved to mark his approach.
I wonder what could have caused him to so foolishly target us.
He no doubt saw weakness and moved to exploit it,
Luvia Nestix growled.
When you recruit the discardlings of others, you can expect nothing to show for it. Hardly, all sneered. House Malkar has brought out their true strength.
All!
Isadora warned her brother to show restraint, but all ignored her.
There is only one Master Race,
all chuckled menacingly, staring down the Red Legion officers.
Your time is almost done. but the drow will always reign supreme.
And those of other species that fight with you?
All snapped around to stare at the pale, nearer colonel with the magical glaive, who stared back, unblinking, with a sly, amused smile. Unlike his two compatriots, this new individual was completely at ease, and did not show any visible signs of anger.
Was a drow present on that stage, receiving honors, or did my eyesight deceive me? The clowns did not attack us because even the killer clown can recognize a greater threat, Vatrix jeered. Had they tried, I would have slain the killer clown myself.
A bold claim from blue blood filth,
Carl chuckled, summoning his hammer to rest his chin on.
I am a veteran of hundreds of battles fought in the name of the Legion. I fought in the Zarkizan campaign, and no matter how many drow tried to prove themselves superior, they all died the same way, screaming in pain as I ripped them apart. Oh yes, Captain, how they screamed.
The mighty Juggernaut taunted, before his gaze turned looking dangerously at all of them. The moment Carl's gaze looked towards him, Spartal summoned the staff of Devil's Daughter to point right at his face, causing the guards to shout out.
Our business remains unconcluded, Carl, the Nira hissed. House Malkar offers a mighty sum for the head of Vashil, significantly more if he is brought to me alive. Now I am bloodkin, Clan Barzim are also now on the hunt for my father, but I have no intention of allowing anyone else the chance of getting him. I'm not hiding or running. I will find him, and I shall kill him, along with all that aid him.
Brave of you for what you did, boy, Carl chuckled grimly, but it won't end the way you think.
That's enough!
Elder Sigrin snapped at all of them.
I won't have you arguing over the truffled fungal appetizers. Don't you know there are enough for everybody?
A long silence took the room, before finally General Commander Opathu allowed himself a slight chuckle.
Are you sure, Lady Barzim? He rumbled with amusement. They are most delectable.
Indeed,
Vatrix retorted, with a false smile of civility.
We must order some for our house.
We shall arrange something, Sigrin allowed, and the guards guided the two feuding parties away from one another. In the corner of the room, Grandmaster Ilvela furrowed his brows. The conversation with Sparty had been nothing short of a delight, and only his ironclad discipline had kept him from losing his composure. It reminded him of those first days of meeting Svarvali, and Svarti was every part her daughter. But her son, by the gods, her son. That he had inherited his mother's skill was without question. But his father? Ilvela had met Vashil only a few times before, and had found him to have been a good man, a loving husband, and a doting father. Just what was going on here? After that tense standoff, the reception had been a mostly dull affair, with the exception of Dante and Caro, barking and cawing at one another until they were forcibly separated by their respective masters and kept that way. Apart from that, Jack and his friends ate some strange food and hobnobbed with a few influential figures, though they naturally stayed away from Master Carl and the Drow, with at least one member of the group staying with Jack to ensure he didn't shoot any of them by accident. It was a short affair, and they had all committed to leaving in good time with their friends to enjoy the rest of the day. But first, they had to pick up their rewards and compensation. Out of their group, Jack was the only one who hadn't gotten his rewards yet, as he had a special order that Ivar was claiming from the vault. However, considering who was currently receiving their rewards, he didn't mind the wait.
All right, Mr. Cush, I think you'll like this.
The bemused guard chuckled, as with great reverence he handed Killer Cush what looked like a pair of submachine guns.
Bro,
Killer Kush grinned.
What do they do?
They, shoot plasma rounds like any other SMG. These ones are efficient enough to shoot more rounds before overheating at the cost of accuracy, the guard told him. Very reliable and well forged by Clan Barzum. We hope you put them to good use. We also have this. The guard pulled out a small briefcase and turned it around before opening it to give Killer Kush a look. Jack couldn't see what was in it from his angle, but the bright green glow from within gave Killer Kush the happiest look he had ever seen.
Holy shit! Let's go!
The dress squad celebrated. You! A voice yelled, as from the Red Legion contingent, Jack saw a familiar angry reptilian marching up. He had not seen Master Carl since the end of the previous week, when he got suspended from teaching, and certainly did not expect to see him here, as he made a beeline for Killer Kush.
I know you were the one to take a shit in my office!
The Dressquox lazily turned around with the wide, calm smile of a true pothead, and gave Master Carl a casual look up and down, as the crowd turned to see the commotion.
Suck my balls, motherfucker!
Killer Kush grinned wide at the hulking brute. Carl roared, summoning his hammer, as with a flurry Killer Kush drew his twin blades.
That's enough!
Sigrid Barzum yelled at the top of her voice.
This is neutral ground. Does the Red Legion refuse to honor his word?
Our word is our bond, Carl growled as he stomped off, while Killer Kush sheathed his blades and lit a spliff like nothing had happened.
Alright. Thanks for coming, Mr. Kush. Safe travels.
Sigrid chuckled as she somewhat abruptly let the Dressquox out the door. Jack, you want to come with me? Ivar called from the door. Got you all set up, but I figured since you're not from around here I could explain stuff for you. Sure, Jack shrugged, before leading the group to follow him. They didn't go far, only heading down the end of the corridor before Ivar ushered him into a side room, allowing Alora, Nika, Scifi, Chio and Dante to enter with him. Alright, Jack, Ivar grinned. Clan Barzum officially thanks you for doing all you could to help fight back against the clowns, save innocent lives, and for your attempts to catch the bastard that made sure it could happen. Clan Barzum has officially called a blood hunt on Dr. Grine, so as a matter of honor we will be hunting him or assisting anyone else for as long as it takes, until he is confirmed to be permanently dead. Fair enough, Jack nodded, before remembering something. That reminds me. What is Blodkin? Ivar grinned. Elder Torvald asked me to fill you in. You are basically honorary and honorable members of the clan, with all the benefits that entails. Any help the clan can reasonably provide, the clan will give, no matter where you are, as long as we're around. It's up to you if you accept it. We don't expect anything of you in return. Any direct descendants you have will be afforded the same honor. Thank you, Jack began, not knowing what to say. Don't mention it. You won't believe the things my little cousins in your class were saying when the news came down. Anyways, first things first, since we know you guys do mercenary work, part of our reward for you guys is giving you some decent body armor you can use in the field. Alora's already given me your sizes and fighting styles, so we're gonna send that to you once put together.
Cool, Scifi exclaimed. Saves just wearing a battle skin to a firefight.
Quite, Ivar nodded, looking a little worried at that point. Anyway, I've got a few other things for you, Jack. Come have a look. We fixed your gauntlet bracer things. Awesome, Jack said in relief, being feeling a little exposed without my shield. And the flamethrower too, I'll bet, Ivar grinned. And if you think that's good, just wait and see what else you're getting. You've added additional functions? Chio asked with curiosity. Like what? Sort of. I took the liberty of providing a manual, Ivar smirked. It'll come to you naturally as you attune to it, but our rune forgers basically decided it'd be easier to rebuild these things from scratch, copy over the previous enchantments you had, and make them better than just fixing up your old ones. As you've noticed, the single gauntlet you had before now comes as a pair, so you can use either hand for what you want to do. And since you're Blodkin, you have everything we could possibly add.
As far as unarmed combat goes, these can extend over your striking digits to pack an extra punch.
Like brass knuckles? Jack asked, and Ivar shrugged, not knowing what those were.
Probably. Also, if you're unarmed and you need to go lethal, it can also give you a punch dagger, hidden blade, or just a knife, depending on what you want. Like I said, the clan runecrafters gave you everything, so hopefully you won't end up with a cooking knife or whatever by accident. Ivar grinned. Now that leads me on to the best bit. These gauntlets can help you out with handiwork jobs, sort of like guiding you about what a problem might be and how you can fix it. It's not going to give you a degree in astrophysics or whatever, but I'm sure you'll find a use for it. Plus, since you're bloodkin, you have access to our equipment and tools which you can summon once you know what you need for a job. Nothing you pull will stick around for long, since the clan matrons get pissy when you lose stuff, but it'll let you keep what you need for as long as you actually need it.
Great. Sounds like I'm going to be drafted for all the household chores, Jack sighed.
Sounds like it,
Chio grinned, patting him on the shoulder.
Our Runeforge has also added some other features as well, but you can read the manual for those. Ivar shrugged. I highly recommend the grapple. We also have this.
Holy shit, Nika exclaimed, as Ivar plonked a plasma rifle on the table.
Hot off the forges! We got you a long gun too, Ivar chuckled. We customized it for your build as well. Not many other species could effectively handle a weapon like this. Efficient, accurate burst fire, and shoots heavier rounds for increased damage and penetration. Also, it has an attached grenade launcher. Wait, what the shit? Jack exclaimed with a look of amazement. Yup. Again, it's in the manual with what it's compatible with. Ivar chuckled, pleased to see the enthusiasm. Apart from that, we're giving you some money, some food, some stocks, and shares in various Clan Barsum holdings, which are being managed by one of our brokers. And this.
He opened his palm reverently.
On behalf of Clan Barsum, I gift you the Ring of the Berserker.
Thank you. I'm honored, Jack told Ivar truthfully, choosing to wear it on his right hand, surprised to find it comfortable on his ring finger, and easy to put on and take off provided he wanted to, likely having some kind of magic involved. He felt some kind of strange feeling of satisfaction from the ring as he kept it on, like it somehow accepted him as its wearer. It's perfect for you. It'll passively give you some resistances to magical attacks, plus boost your natural abilities in combat, especially when you get into a deep rage state, Ivar told him. Aside from that, we don't know much about it, other than it's not cursed and it's a potent artifact that'll work well with you. Again, the rest of what we know is in the manual, including basic history and such, but I hope it gives you the edge if you ever encounter that bastard Grind again.
Anyway, that's it for what we have for you. Though you and any companions you wish to bring are welcome to our feasts at any time. We'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Ivar. Jack smiled with gratitude as he shook the man's hand.
No problem. You'll be good. And I hope that food lasts to keep your household fed until things get back to normal, Ivar told him as they departed.
All right, let's head home, Allura announced to the others. Svarti's visiting too, temporarily. Time to relax, unwind, and then we have a long-awaited interview. How bad could it be? Asked Chio.